All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go click on for 6 weeks. So for 6 weeks. And then click on current week. And go to Tuesday, and under assignment, there's two different things. We're going to do this domain and range activity right here. So domain and range. I think you'll click on Google. It'll say sign in with Google. Yep, very good. And then just click go. All right. So yesterday we talked about domain and range. So if y'all remember, and for those of us that were here, bless you, that I have a poster right here that says domain and range. And so one of the big things that I want to stress is the more you look at that poster on test day, all right, like you'll just be able to close your eyes and see that poster. And domain and range, like I try to be honest with you guys when something's important and when something's like, okay, look, this is tough. You know, if you can't get it, don't worry about it. And domain and range is one of the things that we really want to be good at, okay? This is something that yesterday's domain and range was really easy because all you had to do was to list out numbers. But today's might be a little bit tougher, just depending on how you look at it. Bless you. How are we doing? You got your computer with you today? Okay. We are going to be on our computer for just a little bit. We're not going to do a whole bunch on the computer. We got a little activity we're doing. So today we are doing domain and range of what we call a continuous function. Now, you might think of continuous as something that goes on forever, but continuous just means from this point to this point, it's continuous. In other words, it's connected by a line. So if y'all remember yesterday, there were, when we had a graph, there were individual dots and we had to draw lines to the x-axis. Do you remember doing that? We had to go, and then we had to go to the y-axis, stuff like that. So continuous, like I said, just simply means that from this point to this point, it's connected by one continuous line, okay? Now, anytime that we teach this, I started teaching this like this a few years ago, and I feel like kids understand this better when we explain it like this. But to me, the best way to explain how to do this is by taking a selfie. So I know that we all love selfies, right? You know, we're just, you know, we're the center of our own world, right? So we like to, you know, take all these selfies and stuff like that. Now, so you take this selfie, right? And you're like, oh my God, look at that. He's so beautiful. But you got this person, this idiot in the background. Usually it's me, like, you know, what are you photobombing, you know, the person that's taking the selfie, right? And so when you take that selfie and you got stuff around that you don't like, how do you get rid of the stuff that you don't like? What do you call that? In your phone, what do you do? So like you take a selfie and you got stuff around the picture you don't like. So how do you get rid of it? What do you call it? Crop it out, okay? Really? That's all this is today, okay? This is going to be nothing but cropping. We have this picture right here, okay? And look at all this excess stuff. We don't need all this excess graph right here. So all we're going to do is crop it out, okay? And so we have this little program where we're just going to work on cropping, okay? So that's all this program right here is doing, is it's going to see if we can crop this picture correctly. Now, if you look over here yesterday, when we were talking about domain and range, you see these lines right here, okay? Those lines are kind of weird, but what those lines are doing is they're telling us when we do domain, we're cropping this way, and it's going to crop the x-axis. When we are doing range, we're cropping this way, and it's going to crop the y-axis, so it cuts off the y-axis, okay? So what we're going to do here is we want to look at this, and I'm going to use this right here so I can draw on this a little bit. So we're going to look at the x's first, okay? And so we got this picture. So I don't want you to think of this as a graph. If you think of this as a graph, then it can start to get a little like, I don't know, it just gets kind of weird when you think of this as a graph. If you think of this as a picture, I think this starts to make a whole lot of sense. So when we look at this as a picture, then we're going to crop this picture right here and get rid of all this. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're getting rid of this, all that excess stuff. I don't need all that excess stuff. Okay, you got somebody in the background. This is usually me, just, photobombing you. You want to get rid of that dude right there, right? Get rid of him. So that's what we're doing. And so notice when we crop this right here, okay, that we touch the picture. It's the very edge of that picture, right? What number did we touch right here? -5. Okay, so the very edge of my picture on the x-axis is going to be -5. And then when we go on this side, and I want to crop this one, okay. So once again, we're going to get rid of all this stuff here. If you want to join the Zoom, you can if it help you see better. Totally up to you. Totally up to you. So right here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. And so when we go to this side, so my x's, if I crop this picture, my x's go from -5 to 4. Okay. Now I want you to watch this. I'm going to clear this right here. If you type in right here, -5, and always the smallest number, the negatives or the smallest number will go for the min. The max will be our biggest number, 4. And then watch this real quick. When I hit adjust window, so this is a really cool little thing right here. When I hit adjust window, it's going to adjust, maybe. Okay, maybe I got to type in the Y's because it should have done something here. All right, well, let's do the Y's real quick and then let's see if it works because it should have adjusted the window. All right, so let's do the Y's real quick. Okay, so the Y's are going to be on the bottom. So the bottom of my picture. Now, here's where kids get in trouble. If you think of this as a graph, okay, if you're looking at this as a graph, a lot of kids go, here's the bottom of my graph right there because they see the endpoint. I don't want you to see this as a graph. It's a picture. If you see a picture, that's clearly the bottom of your picture right there. Does that make sense? So if you think of this as a picture, I think that there's less mistakes. There's the bottom of my picture right there, okay? And this would be -1, -2. And then the top of my picture right here would be 5. And so I'm going to type in right here, we're going to go -2. And then the biggest Y would be 5. And then we're going to see okay, hopefully this works now because this should be doing something. There we go. All right. If I did this right, so if I did this right, then did I cut off any part of this picture? No, I cropped it perfectly. And there's no extra. So there's no extra, like right here, there's not extra space, or down here, there's not extra space. It goes to the very edge of my picture. Does that kind of make sense right there? So we're just kind of cropping it. All right, so on your thing right here, I'm going to make sure you get that. Put it on here. All right, so I want y'all to type in right here. The X minimum was -5, so type that in. The X max was 4. The Y min was -2, and the Y max was 5. And just type that in, hit adjust your window, and then it should look like mine. There you go. There you go. Okay. The current week. Oh, you're joining the Zoom. I got you. All right. So let's take a look at the next one. Hit next real quick. All right. So let's see if we can figure this out. Now, remember, when we're doing the X's, we're going to crop. And when you do this on paper here in a little bit, I'm going to have y'all actually physically draw a line right there. So I'm going to draw the line for us right now, okay? So remember, when you draw this line to crop this picture, it's going to go on the edge of your graph, and it's got to go through the x-axis in order to be the X minimum. Does that make sense? Got to go through the x-axis. So right here, this is 0. This would be -1. So you can go ahead and put -1 right there. All right. And we'll talk more about these open and closed circles later. Right now, we're not worried about the open and closed, but we'll talk about it here in a little bit. So I'm going to go on the edge of this right here. And so it goes right there. So this will be 0, 1, 2. So we'll put 2 right there. All right. And then the bottom. Okay, so now this is, when we go this way, we're crossing the y-axis. So the y that we just went through would be -5. And then, oh, stupid. So the top would be right here. And that would cross 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so type those numbers in, hit adjust, and let's see what happens to our window. I'm going to go and type this in myself. So we got -1, and then the max was 2, and then we had -5. And like I said, if we do this right, it won't cut anything off. It will just simply match the window right to the picture. So you can see right there, it goes directly from that edge to that edge right there. Okay, does that kind of make sense what we're doing? A little bit, hopefully. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so type those in. Y'all type those in, we're good? Okay, all right, hit next. All right, so I'm gonna draw the lines, but I'm not gonna write the numbers. I wanna see if y'all can come up with the numbers, and then if you're wrong, it's no big deal, okay? But I will draw the lines, okay? So I'm gonna draw the line from this edge. Okay, so would you know what number that's crossing right there? Remember, here's 0 right here. Okay, so go ahead and put, and is it, remember, if it's going to the positive or the negative side, so these two numbers right here will let you know what side it is. And then right there, what number would that cross on the x-axis? Okay, very good. So y'all said -1 and 6 right there. Very good. So those are my x's. All right, so then we're going to do our y's. So the y's, so there's the bottom of my graph right there. So where did that touch the y-axis? -1 again. And then at the top, so right here is 5 and then 7, yeah. Okay, so hit adjust window and see what happens. So I'm gonna clear this real quick and type this in just to make sure. All right, so we had -1 and what was it, 6? And -1 and 7. So hit adjust window. Perfect. All right. So get the next one. So first off, I mean, is this kind of making a little bit of sense? Okay. So now once we switch it over and we start doing it on paper, obviously it'll be a little bit different. But if you understand this basic idea of you're just simply cropping a picture and telling me where we touch on the x-axis and where we touch on the y, then you've got the basic idea on this, okay? And you're really gonna be fine. All right. So we take a look at this real quick, and all right, so I'm gonna go on the edge of my picture right here. All right, and the edge of my picture right there. Okay, so I'm gonna let y'all kind of look at that for a second, see if you can figure out what two numbers that we're crossing on the x-axis. Okay, what do y'all think this is? Close. -3, yep. Oh, yep, I was about to say over here. So yeah, -3 right there. Very good, so that'd be -3. And then what's this number? A little bitty. So, and one of the things I will tell you on the STAR test, I don't like this on a lot of the programs we use. Like I've worked really hard on some programs to make all the numbers show up. On the STAR test, they should put every number up. That way you're not ever having to guess, is that 1, 2, 3, you know, it should tell you exactly what number. So that's one of the things I don't like. So yes, this one was 5. Okay. All right. So now on the bottom here, so that gives us -5. And then on the top, that gives us 5. Oh, and I was supposed to wait. My mom was going somewhere else. I forgot I was supposed to ask y'all. All right, is that what y'all got? Okay. All right, so let me plug these in real quick. All right, so we got It was 3, -3, sorry, and 5, and then -5 and 5. Put adjust window. That's perfect. All right. So we could keep doing all these, but I think y'all kind of got the basic idea, right? So I want to move over to the paper. All right. So you go ahead and turn off your computers. It automatically saves everything. So as you hit the adjust window, it saved everything. So all you got to do is X out of it and you'll be fine. All right. So let's go take a look at our paper. All right. So okay. So here's how this is different. Now, as I teach you how this is different, I don't want you to panic on this part, all right? I'm sorry, I can take it. All right. Yeah. You're welcome. All right. So you will never have to write this on a test, okay? I want you to kind of remember this, that with domain and range, that the part I'm about to show you will always be on the test, okay? So you don't have to come up with this. What you have to be able to do is come up with those two numbers we just came up with. But anytime you have continuous, it's going to be written with this right here, okay? So when it's domain, it'll have this X less than. When it's range, it'll have this Y less than. And I don't want you to freak out about that part. That part will already be on the test. You don't have to come up with it, okay? And then there will be one other thing, and this is really hard to see. I need to go over this with a different color, but this is orange right here. The circles are going to matter, okay? So when we have what's called an open circle, so it's not filled in, it's just an open circle, there is no equal to bar, okay? And then when it's filled in, then we do have an equal to bar, and I'll explain that as we go through. But I want you to kind of know it's there, so I ain't got to keep getting up. I'm lazy. All right. Can y'all see? Am I in your way? I'm trying to. You know what I can do? Can y'all see okay? Good. Okay. All right. So when we take a look at this, then what we're going to do is we're going to draw lines. Now, I highly, highly recommend. I can't see, so I got to scoot it. So if I'm in your way, let me know, please. I highly, highly recommend that you draw these lines that I'm going to draw. Okay. Yes. So the first thing we're going to do is domain. Now, right here, when you start off with domain, I want you to put an X. So put an X. Notice I put the X in the middle. So put an X and then put less than, like that right there. So X, less than. Okay. Now we're going to crop the X's. So we're drawing lines that cross the X axis. So I want you to draw a line that goes through the edge of my picture. Remember, think of this as a picture. And tell me, now this is kind of tough, especially, I don't know about y'all, but when I drew this line right here, that makes that look like a -5, doesn't it? And I don't know if it does it to on y'all's, but on mine, that kind of, when I look at this number, it kind of looks like a -5, but it's not. This is going by twos. So -2, -4, that's actually -6 right there. Okay, so right here, we're going to put -6. Now remember, this part right here is already going to be on the test. So this is, I don't want you getting freaked out by this part. I need you to be able to find that number. So when you're looking at a multiple choice test, we got to be able to find that -6 right there. Now, let's talk about the circle that we hit. The rule is you always put an equal to bar every single time. Okay, you put an equal to bar unless you get an open circle. Open circles are the only time we don't put an equal to bar. So right here on this less than symbol, we don't have an open circle, so we're going to put an equal to bar. So you always put an equal to bar unless you see an open circle. Okay. All right. So we got this side. So now we're going to go get this side right here. So now we're going to draw a line right here. And what number did we hit right there? 2, yeah. And this, do we have any open circles? No. So we don't have any open circles, we always put an equal to bar. So if you're going to make a mistake by putting an equal to bar, okay? Because there's more times that you put an equal to bar than what you don't, okay? And like I said, the only time we don't is when there's an open circle. It should stand out because open circles just look weird.
So what is when you do it?
So when it's filled in, we do put it. When it's open, so like look at number 2. You see this circle right here? That just looks weird, doesn't it? Because it's not filled in. That's when we don't put an equal to bar, okay? And so to me, the open circles kind of stand out and they're just like, well, that doesn't even look right, you know, because you're so used to the dots being filled in. And so that's the only time. Other than that, we always put an equal to bar. All right. And you'll get used to it. We'll do plenty of these. Okay, so we're done. This is domain. Now, here's the thing. So yesterday we talked about domain is x's. So I want you to see here that our domain is our x still, okay? What axis did we cross when we drew our lines? Our x-axis. The numbers came from the x-axis. So domain is everything x. All right, so now we're going to do range. So range is what, Libby? The y. So right here, we're going to put y less than. Now, I think tomorrow, if not tomorrow, then the day after that, we're going to get to where we have multiple choice questions. And I'm telling you, when it's multiple choice, to me, it's even easier because of the fact that most of this stuff is already there and you're going to look at it and just start eliminating. So it makes it even easier. Okay. So right now you might be going, you know, this is kind of weird. If you can come up with these 2 numbers, I'm telling you, when it's multiple choice, it's just a little bit easier. All right. So now we're doing range. So range, we're doing the y-axis. So we're cropping this way. All right, so I'm going to go, I just personally like to start on the bottom. That's just me. So I'm going to crop the bottom of this picture right here. Now, with me drawing this line, it's really tough to tell that there's a negative right there because my line just kind of went right through it. So you got to kind of remember here, especially when they don't show these very well, that when it's below the center, so right here's my center right here. When it's below the center, it's negative. So this right here would be -6. So -6. Now, I get some kids that are like, how do you know which number goes where? So first off, they always put the smaller number on the left. But once again, on a multiple choice test, they're going to put the smallest number on the left always. They don't try to trick. You'll hear me say this as we go throughout the year. Multiple choice tests, I love multiple choice tests. I do. And I'm going to teach y'all to take advantage of multiple choice tests. Y'all know that. We've already been talking about it. But multiple choice tests try to trick you. Okay, that's the downside of multiple choice tests. However, on this stuff, they don't try to trick you. They're never going to put the smaller number on the right and the bigger number on the left and go, I got you. They don't do that for whatever reason. They should, but they don't. Okay, so as long as you know that there's a -6, the -6 is going to be in the right spot. Okay, now, do we have an open circle?
No.
No, so we put an equal to bar. Always put that equal to bar unless we see an open circle. Okay, here's where it starts to get a little tricky. If you look at this as a picture, you know where the top of this picture is because you see a picture. You see this whole thing. If you look at this as a graph, you might think that the top has to do with this dot right here, and it doesn't. Okay, that'd be like taking a selfie but cutting off, you know, your head when you take your selfie, right? So where's the top of the picture? Right up here. So if you see this as a picture, it's obvious. This is the top of my picture because you're seeing, okay, that's a terrible line right there. So that's why I always say, see this as a picture, not a graph. Okay. Now think of that almost, just looking at it, I would think of this almost as a mountain. Like here's the snow right here. Woo, snow-capped mountain. All right. So what number did we go through on the y-axis this time? So it's in between 2 and 4? 3, yeah. So this will be 3. All right, so here's where kids start to go, but there's not a dot here. So our rule is you always put an equal to bar, right? Unless you see an open circle. Well, I definitely don't see an open circle, so we put an equal to bar. So just remember, always put an equal to bar unless you see an open circle, and you should always be good with that right there. All right, we did skip one thing here. So I'm going to clear this. I'm going to erase this real quick. Y'all don't need to erase it. I'm going to erase it real quick. All right, I forgot to do this first question. We did this before all the ice hit, okay? Do y'all remember how to tell if something's a function?
Yeah, when it don't repeat.
Yes, so the rule is, so don't repeat, it's only allowed to touch once. And the way we test it when it's a picture is we draw a vertical line. Y'all remember doing this vertical line and you would draw it on there? How many times did this vertical line touch that graph? One. So if it only touches once, then it's a function. So yes, this is a function. All right. So number 2. So let's just go ahead and determine if it's a function first. That way I can get rid of the line after that. So we draw a vertical line. It's called the vertical line test. It has to be a vertical line, never a horizontal line. Yes, exactly. So so when we draw that vertical line right there, how many times did it touch that picture? Once, that's a function. If it ever touches more than once, it's not a function. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that line now. Maybe, please. Okay, there we go. All right. So now we're going to do our domain. So you're going to put X here, less than, less than. And like I said, that will always be given to you. All right, so now we're going to crop the sides and we're going to draw the line. And the line that we're drawing right now is crossing the X axis. So it's got to cross the X. It's in between -2 and -4. So what is it?
5. I mean, no, 3.
-3. Very good. So -3. And then we don't see an open circle right here. Okay, so we put an equal to bar. All right, so now we go to this one. Now, when you draw your line through this, I'm not going to lie, on these right here, I draw my line, and because it's an open circle, I have learned if I draw the line through this, it looks like it's filled in. Does that make sense? So what I do is I draw a line and then I kind of skip over the circle itself so that I can see it's open. I don't want to forget that it's open. So I kind of draw a line, skip the circle, and then go down so that I know it's open. All right, so what number are we hitting right here in between 2 and 4? 3. Okay, now we do touch an open circle here. So this is the one time we do not put an equal to bar. Is that making sense right there? Okay, because we went through an open circle, so we're just going to leave it like that. That's my domain right there. And all it's saying is, like I said, we're cropping this picture. You don't have to do what I'm about to do, but all it's saying is we're getting rid of all this crap we don't need right here. We don't need any of this stuff. And it's saying all that's left on the x-axis goes from -3 to 3. That's all it's saying is, hey, my x-axis now is going to go from -3 to 3 because I don't need any of that other stuff. So that's really all that's being said right here. All right, so now we're going to do the range. So we got the y. So y less than, less than. All right, so I like to start with the bottom. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. Once again, if you see this as a picture, I think this is obviously the bottom right here, right? I have a lot of kids that want to say it's this dot right here, and they cut off this bottom part right there. And so, like I said, it's just, and I know y'all have never been taught that to look at this as a picture. You've always been taught that that's a graph. So I know that just me saying it isn't going to like magically make you think of this as a picture. But if you can train yourself to think of this as a picture, then you'll see that that's clearly the bottom right there. All right, what number did we hit? Can you tell? I think that's a -2 right there. Yeah. So -2, kind of tough to see right there. All right, there's no open circle right here where this line's at. So we're going to put an equal to bar. All right, now we're going to go to the top of my picture. So that would be right here. Once again, when I go, I'm going to skip through this circle so that I can clearly see it's an open circle. All right, what number are we hitting on the y-axis then? In between 8 and 10? 9, yeah. And then it was an open circle, so we're not going to put any equal to bar there. All right. Number 3. So I'm going to go ahead and determine if this is a function first. So I'm going to do my vertical line test. And it only touches once. So is that a function? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to erase that vertical line right there. Okay. So we're going to crop the side. So, oh, and I forgot to put my X less than. All right, so we cropped this side right here. Once again, the way my line goes through this, it makes it look like a -5 right there, but that is not -5. It's -2, -4, -6. So -6. And then it was, I don't see an open circle, so we always put the equal to bar. All right, so we're gonna go over here to the right. And we're gonna crop this side of my picture. Okay, so we got, oh, I should have asked y'all, but we got 7. So it's in between 6 and 8, so that's 7. And then we don't see yep, put an equal to bar. So no open circle, so we put an equal to bar. All right, so now we're gonna do our Y's. So Y less than. All right, so I'm gonna do the bottom first. So the bottom of my picture is right here. And it looks like that's going through -4 right there. So -4. We don't see any open circles, so we put an equal to bar. And then the top of my picture, looks like it's going through +6. And still no open circles, so an equal to. I was trying to hurry because I'm excited about this next one. No, this next one that we got. I know you're wrong. I'm excited about next week because, you know, we got 2 4-day weeks. And then we're at spring break. Kind of nice. All right, does everybody have this written down? We all good?
That's
Okay.
not a fix.
All right, so I love this one right here. And I do this every year. You'll have to forgive my goofiness. I suck at art. Like, I don't know. People that can draw just amaze me because I am terrible. All right. However, there is one thing that I can draw. And I know I can draw this because when I finish drawing this, you're going to be able to tell me what it is. So obviously, if you can tell me what it is, I'm awesome at this right here. So I always tell y'all to look at this as a picture, right? So here's my picture.
Ninja Turtle.
Look at that. I already know what this is. I have to go. I am going to continue this, though, because I'm very proud of my Ninja Turtle here.
Draw better than me.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm a terrible artist. There's my scary Ninja Turtle right there. All right, so obviously now we clearly see a picture, right? So this one's a little bit easier. Now, before we get too far, is this a function? So I'm going to draw a line through my Ninja Turtle right there. All right, it's not because it touches twice. So it touches at the top and at the bottom, so this is not a function. All right, now get the stupid line off my Ninja Turtle. There we go. That's Michelangelo, by the way. You know, I like Michelangelo. He's my favorite. He's the funny one. All right. So we're going to go ahead and put our domain as x's. So x less than. All right. We want to get rid of all this extra stuff so that we just see Michelangelo here. So we're going to crop the side of this right here. And it looks like that hit, what, -3 right there? So -3. There are no open circles here, so we're going to put an equal to bar. So the fact that there's no open circles anywhere, you know all these are going to have equal to bars on this one. Okay, we're going to crop this side of my picture. All right, and it's hitting 1. And then once again, no open circles, so we have our equal to bar. All right, so that's our domain, and then our range. We're going to go y less than. All right. The bottom right here, we're gonna hit -1 and no open circles, so we put an equal to bar. And at the top, we hit 3. All right. So you know, just like every teacher out there, right as you start to understand something, the teachers change the rules, don't they?
Mhm.
And that's the way it always goes. Well, I want to be a good teacher too. So it looks like you are starting to understand this. So we're going to change the rules now. Okay. So this right here has something that we have an issue with. It doesn't have dots. It has arrows. Okay. Oh, you know what? Before I get into this, let's talk about, is this a function?
No.
Draw a vertical line. How many times they touch? So yeah, it only touches once. So yes, that is a function. All right. So every time that we've done this, we've always had dots, or my picture has clearly ended, right? Here's the problem with arrows. What does an arrow mean? An arrow means that it keeps, well, yeah, it keeps going, doesn't it? So I can't crop a picture. Like I can't draw a line right here because the arrow means it keeps going. That's not the end of this picture. The picture keeps going. So we have a rule. Anytime that there's an arrow, you cannot crop that side. So when I go to crop this side right here, I can't crop it because there's an arrow. Okay. If I go to crop this side right here, I can't crop it because there's an arrow. Okay. So anytime that we can't crop either side because there's arrows, we call this, you can write one of two things. You can either write all real numbers, or you can draw this double-backed R. Okay, double-backed R. So I'm going to draw this R again. The secret to the double-backed R is you draw the two backs first, start over here, and then make your R like that. You don't have to draw it. It's totally up to you. Okay, but this right here means all real numbers. So I got the picture. I don't do it. Yeah, I don't have the double back there. But you can write all real numbers. That works too. Okay. If you're lazy, you just draw that, like I said, that double backed R right there. All right. So we tried to crop the sides and we couldn't crop the sides because they're arrows. So now we got to crop the bottom. But when we go to crop the bottom, what's right there? Arrow, right? And then what about the top? What do we see? Arrow. So once again, I can't crop the bottom. I can't crop the top because there's arrows there. So this is all real numbers for this too. Now, it's easy to think that like whenever one is all real numbers, the other is all real numbers, but that's not true. Sometimes one is all real numbers, but the other's not. Usually, if one of these is all real numbers, it's domain. Okay, domain tends to have more all real numbers than range. Rarely will you see a range be all real numbers and domain not be. Yeah, we're not going to have time to get to that backside. All right, so let's take a look at this one right here. Is this a function right here? So we'll draw that. And how many? So yes, so it is a function.
It's because I did it for open.
Oh, you went south? Yep. That is the number one thing that we tend to see is kids when they draw that line will draw it sideways instead of vertically. So that's a very common thing. All right. So domain, we got x less than. Now notice there's no arrows on this, so I mean we're going to be fine on this one. All right. So as I go through this one, notice it's an open circle, so I'm going to skip. I'm not going to draw through that circle so that I can clearly see it's open. All right, what number did we hit?
-3.
-3. And it's an open circle, so we're not putting anything. All right, and then we're going to crop the other side. And we get 3. And then put an equal to bar because there's no open circle right there. All right. So then we're going to do our y less than. And then, so I'm going to start at the bottom. What number we hit there? -3. And then we didn't hit an open circle there, so got an equal to bar. And then on the top, and what I love about me stopping and skipping is I'm saying, hey, this is an open circle. It really drives home the point when you pick up your pencil and skip over that, that you've realized that that's an open circle there. So what number did we hit? 3, and then it's an open circle. So do we put an equal to bar? No. So I will say that these right here, I feel like are the easy ones. Okay, so when I tell y'all, we're always looking for the easy stuff, right? I think when there's no arrows, it's got a definite beginning and an end. I think these should be the easy ones, okay? I think even as y'all start seeing these on tests and stuff like that, that these are the easy ones. The all real numbers can be a little tricky. So if you know, we're gonna work on it, but if you miss that, I don't think it'll kill you, but we've got to get these right here that have clear beginnings and ends, and there's no arrows. All right, has everybody got this written down? All good? All right, we're going to do one more. So I do want you to see one where, so y'all see the arrows here. Okay, well, I cannot crop this side and I cannot crop this side. This is going to be all real numbers. Now, it would be really easy to think at this point that range is all real numbers. And you're right, I cannot draw a line on the bottom because there's arrows. But what about on the top? Are there any arrows on the top? No. So we're going to put y less than, and we're going to draw the number on the top. I will say that we have never seen on the STAR test where they tried to trick you with this, okay? Now the rule is that the top would go over here, but even if you get this wrong and you were put it over here, we've never seen on the STAR test where they tried to trick you and put it on the wrong side, okay? Now, we do come across some questions like that I find where they do try to trick you, but we only had one line. We're now gonna get rid of this. Were there any open circles? No, and that's my answer right there.